Welcome. In front of me I have the NUBIA Z70 Ultra, and today I will go over unboxing along with a quick look at the device and also its specifications. So, jumping straight into it, this is one of the devices that I'm very excited. I've been really liking what NUBIA is doing with their phones in general, or at least these ones to be more precise, or this kind of aesthetic of the device, as the Z70 isn't the only phone that kind of looks like this. There is also the Red Magic 10 Pro, which I have right here. It's almost identical to this, the only difference will be the cameras. But anyway, let's get inside. Come on. There we go. So we have the phone right up the front, and this one will have a bit of a camera bump. I can kind of see this is a, well, just a little bit bigger bump. Oh my gosh, that glue holds strong. Can I just push it out of there? Yes, I can. There we go. So here we have the back. Ooh, okay, so this is more rounded. Okay, I'm gonna boot it up and come back to it in a second. Actually kind of liking this a little bit more, but anyway. Now under here we have a case, most likely. Yes, indeed we do. Though this one, compared to the 10 Pro, this one is silicone. So you can see it's kind of more flimsy. The Red Magic 10 Pro comes with a plastic hard case. Now, also in here we get cable. This will be a Type C to Type C cable. If I can actually get it out, there we go. So, just a bog standard cable, nothing really special to it. But what is going to be a bit more special is the charger that comes provided with the device. That is going to be a 80-watt charger, if I remember correctly. And yes, I do. It's the same one between most devices. So 80-watt brick Type-C port on it comes provided with the device, which obviously is fantastic. And now moving on to the device itself, if I can clean the space of out just a tiny bit. There we go, we can bring it up. I'm going to go through a quick setup just so we can get a better look at the bezels or screen to body ratio, as this is one of the kind of like a selling points of this device. So quickly going through this, and while I'm going through it, I'm going to quickly also talk about the screen. So right here we have a 6.85 inch display. This is running a resolution of 1216 by 2688 pixels. It is a AMOLED display, 1 billion colors, 144 Hz refresh rate, HDR10, not 10 plus, so it doesn't have the certification, and a peak brightness of 2000 nits. Also boasts a 89.7% screen to body ratio, which is a bit odd because it's a little bit lower than the Red Magic, and boasts a 431 pixels per inch. So there we go. Now you can also obviously now see the display right here. It looks absolutely phenomenal, and you can probably also see that there is no camera visible at the front of the device. That is one of the things that ZTE is doing, with the camera being located under the display. Now I could try to show you this camera, but to be completely honest, I have no way of doing that. This is just almost impossible for me to showcase. The only thing that you might see at just some angles sometimes, which I can't really see being visible on the camera at all, is just a titsy bit of a discoloration somewhere right here, as a circle that looks just has a different tint than the rest of the wallpaper. But that's about it. That's the only thing that you can see as a discerning factor that there is under display camera, and you must be like really looking for it. Something that, for instance, the Samsung with their fold phones, they also have under display camera inside on the folding screen, but you can clearly see the camera there as the screen gets pixelated around the camera. It's a much lower resolution. Here I just genuinely cannot see any kind of difference. But enough about the display. Let's flip it over to the back, where we have basically all the cameras. And these cameras will be basically going over the spec sheet right here. A 50 megapixel f1.62 4.0 aperture, 35mm standard lens, 64 megapixel f2.5 aperture, 70mm periscope telephoto. Then we got a 50 megapixel f2.0 aperture, 13mm 122 degrees ultra wide lens. And with those cameras you can record videos up to whopping 8K at 30 frames, and 4K gets you 60, just butter smooth, along with slow motion of 120, and 1080p gets you the same thing with even more slow motions. And then at the front we have, if we can actually showcase this. So the only way I can actually show the camera is by doing this. Flipping it over, you have this circle, and then you have that little black hole there visible for a brief moment before the pixels reactivate under the cover the camera. So that is the only way I can showcase this. And this is housing a 16 megapixel f2.5 aperture 24mm wide lens that does 1080p at 30 frames. Which, that being said, it's actually a step down, considering the Red Magic 10 Pro does 1080p at 60 and also has a 16 megapixel sensor. Now, moving on to the build quality and basically all around the device. We have aluminum frame, a glass back with a actually smaller camera bump than the previous generation, if I remember correctly. So this is a bit more toned down. We have rounded edges on the device, something that isn't the case on the Red Magic. As you can see, these are very similar, but this is just much harsher, like straight edge. This is more rounded, so it actually feels much better in a hand. It feels just nice and softer, but it adds to the screen to body ratio, like adds a couple percentage more. So this is, or more like reduces the percentage, because like I mentioned before, this is an 89.7, while the Red Magic 10 Pro boasts a 91.4% screen to body ratio, which screen size is exactly the same. The only difference is that this has rounded edges, and I think that's what adds to it. But going over a couple additional things, we have a switch right here on the side, which launches camera, but you can reprogram it to do other things. And it has a nice haptic feedback when you switch it on, so the device has just nice kind of feel to it when it vibrates. And then at the top, we have our IR blaster, which is this little thing right here, which allows you to control appliances that use a typical infrared remote control. That would be things like set boxes, AC units, and so on. Then on the right side, we have our volume rockers, our power button, which is color coded. This is not a fingerprint sensor. Fingerprint sensor is under the display. And then we get the camera shutter button with two-stage shutter, which is also pretty neat. Considering this device is designed for photos, it's kind of cool that you have this button, which possibly you might be able to reprogram it if you want to. Then at the bottom, we have our speaker grill, Type-C charging port, microphone, and our SIM tray. There is no expandable storage, and that's about everything that there is to the build. Now moving on into the inside of it, we have a much smaller battery, being a 6150 milliamps, much smaller compared to this one, as this one has 7050 milliamps. But it is actually thicker. It is just a tad bit more thick, and it does feel heavier too compared to this one. This one seems like most of the weight, or decent chunk of the weight, is in the cameras, so it has this kind of imbalance, but it feels better in hand with the rounded corners and being thinner. The other one has a bigger battery, more blacky design, and just feels a bit chunkier, like a kind of like a brick. But yeah, 6150 milliamps and 80 watts charging, which is also a step down, considering the Red Magic 10 Pro gives you 100 watts of charging at peak, obviously. Now, so apart from the charging and battery, we have at the base entry 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. And it's being powered by a Snapdragon 8 Elite. Now this is the base entry. You can spec it up all the way to a terabyte of storage and 24 gigabytes of RAM, all with UFS 4.0. This is absolutely bonkers kind of specifications. This actually like outperforms in terms of RAM and storage most laptops that people own. It's an absolute overkill. 12 gigabytes of RAM for Android devices is already good enough to basically get you through anything that you throw at it, so getting more RAM is absolutely redundant. Storage, on the other hand side, you might want more than 256, maybe like 512, which is completely understandable. With 512 gigabytes of storage, you automatically get 16 gigs of RAM. There is no like sticking with 12 and having half a terabyte of storage, just to kind of point that out. So as the storage, and in terms of Android, it's running the newest one, Android 15, and Nebula AI OS on top of it. And yeah, that's basically everything that there is to it. It's a fantastic device that comes, I believe, a little bit higher priced than the Red Magic. Let me just quickly actually check, because I am getting all these informations from GSM Arena. Now, they are fatastic site, but in terms of the price, I can already guess that the price wasn't correct, and yeah, it wasn't. As previously, the Z lineup was more expensive than the Red Magic, and that is the case here as well. The Z70 Ultra costs 850 euros. Now, I want to point out, even though it costs more than the Red Magic, it is still significantly cheaper than any other flagship that comes with these kind of specifications. This is an absolute amazing device all in all, and the only thing that people might have a problem with is the software, but there might be a bunch of like reviews that you will see online with the software just being iffy, not working correctly or stuff like that. I've been used these devices previously from like 9 Pro and the Z70, and their software seemed to be running fine for me. I didn't have any kind of problems with it, so I presume that the thing just got fixed. But yeah, so 850 euros for this kind of device, while the Red Magic 10 Pro costs about 750, so 100 euros less. You get a bigger battery, but a device that is primarily designed for gaming compared to this one being primarily designed for photography. And another thing that is a leg up over the Red Magic is the fact that this one comes with the waterproofing, because Red Magic has actual like active cooling. You don't have any kind of waterproofing, because that would obviously, water getting into those vents damages the device. Here you don't have any vents, so you have better waterproofing. But yeah, all in all, a fantastic device. No complaints here. It's great phone all in all for a very attractive price, I would say. Now, with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.